My name is Tyler Lindemuth. I'm a purchasing agent here at Samuels & Sons Seafood. I've been here for 5 years and love what I do every day. There's 5 different kinds of wild salmon coming out of the Pacific Northwest. Wild salmon, your species include king salmon, sockeye salmon, coho salmon, chum salmon, as well as your pinks. Your most prized wild salmon that consumers want is king salmon, coho salmon, and sockeye salmon. The first of the fish that we start to fish for in the season usually starts in mid-March is king salmon. King salmon is very highly prized in the restaurant industry for its fat content, the omega-3s, and the oil content that it produces when you're pan-searing. It formed almost its own skin because of the fat content in it, giving it more of a smoother taste going down. Your sockeye salmons are gill net fishery fish. Gill net being that the gill net is tied behind the boat and plugged along and the fish are getting caught up in the nets. Less fat content but give you a brighter complexion as far as the red color on the plate. It will have a buttery taste going down but won't be as gamey as your king salmon.
My name's Katya. I'm here with Chef Davis. So, what are we going to be making today?
Look, we're going to be making some coho salmon. We have a nice piece of coho salmon here. You can see it's a nice lean red salmon. It's got a really full flavor to it. These tend to come out later in the season, so they're available a little bit after the sockeye and king season. And we're going to be searing this today. So we've got this nice fillet. First thing I'm going to do is season up with some salt and pepper on both sides. Alright, we got our pan warming as we speak now. So I'm going to add some olive oil to the pan. And a little wad of butter here that will assist in the browning of this fish. So if you really want to get a nice sear on something, a touch of butter in with your oil is really going to help. And you always want to swirl that too, so it doesn't pop and spark all over the place.
That's good to know.
Yep. Now what we're looking for as far as the heat goes, you can see the pan's already a little bit hot. But once that butter's melted and swirled in there, I'm looking for those butter cells to turn slightly brown. And that'll tell me that the pan is hot enough for what I need to do. And as you can see here, you see just a little spots of the brown milk solids in there. Nice hot pan. Hotter the pan, the less like the fish is to stick. So we're going to lay the fish right in the center of the pan here. Here it sizzle up nicely. And just like when we were talking about with the grilled fish, with this fish, we really don't want to move it around much. So now the fish is in the pan, let it sit in the pan for a little bit and form a sear. Once it's properly seared, it'll be able to turn over without sticking to the pan in any way. So just let it sit there, don't play with it.
How do you tell when it's seared correctly?
What you want to look for is the edges and especially the corners.
Okay.
You're looking for a little bit of a brown, and if you realize that the fish is sitting here and the edges of it are touched by both sides by oil, they're going to turn brown first. So I'm looking for a fairly dark brown around the edges and corners because they're going to be browner than the center of the fish. And then once that gets a little bit darker than I'm looking for the center of the fish, then I can easily turn that.
Oh, okay.
And I'll have a proper sear on both sides. And as you can see, the butter helps with that. Doesn't hurt to swirl your fat around a little bit either. That'll help you cook the fish and help to release it later. So what we need to do now is make our sauce. I'm going to have you help me with that.
Awesome.
Okay? So I'm going to put a towel down here for you, and I have a reduction here that I've made for my beurre blanc, and it's got some white wine, some rice wine vinegar, some fresh sprigs of thyme, some whole peppercorns, and a little bit of Dijon mustard. And all that has been brought down to a little bit looser than a demi-sec. So it's not completely dry. You can see there's a little bit of liquid in there, something to start my base with, and it's nice and hot. So I'm going to have Kat start stirring this now, and I'm going to work in the butter as we go. Okay? So I'm going to stick this in front of you here. You're going to start stirring. Yep.
Okay.
And as you're stirring, I'm going to throw in cubes of butter. All right? So you just keep stirring and work that in. On occasion, we're going to have to return that to the heat to make sure it's nice and warm, because that cold butter is going to cool everything down. So when you see that it's not melting quite as much, just keep stirring there. We're going to put it on the heat.
Okay.
As I'm looking here, I can see that these sides, corners are a little bit brown here. They're looking good. I'm going to give this a turn. You look right there. It's a little bit browner than I'm looking for. Give this a turn. If you do have a proper sear, everything should release properly, quickly. And you have a nice, beautiful brown fillet. Coho sears up really nicely because it's got a nice, such a nice lean protein to it.
That looks good.
Yep. So we're going to return this to the heat for just a second. I'm going to throw in a little bit more butter, and then as soon as I hand that back to you, you're going to start stirring again.
Got it.
Usually the start of wild salmon season kicks in when you start to hear the big hype on Copper River. Copper River fish out of Alaska is a big prize in the wild salmon industry, mainly for its high fat content. Salmon spawn in fresh waters and they go into the ocean then. So as they're coming up the riverways, they're eating and eating. Being that the Copper River is the furthest from the ocean, they have to feed up. So once they stop eating and come into the ocean ways, the fishermen and the consumers all know that it has the highest fat content in that particular salmon. Sockeyes are going to come in after that. You'll start seeing a lot of sockeyes landed out of Alaska and Yakutat area. From there you'll see them start to go down towards Canada and off the coast of British Columbia as well. Your next species of fish you're going to see come along is your coho salmon. Cohos are mainly landed in Alaska. This year, 2015, I got to see a nice chunk of them coming out of Queen Charlotte area in Canada. Canada produced a lot of fish this year. Alaska came through later in the season in mid-August, early September with their coho salmon run that was expected to start at the end of July. They produced a lot of gillnet fish as well as troll-caught cohos. The quality was nice and the fish were getting larger as the season went on. I buy for a price as well as a quality. I start to learn my shippers and who's sending me a consistent product and who may be sending me a quality product that isn't up to our standards here at Samuels and Sons Seafood.
Another component to this dish that we're going to do is called a Piperade. I took peppers here. I have a yellow, a red, and a green pepper that I've sauteed with some olive oil and butter and a little bit of fresh thyme as well. This is a really fairly traditional preparation called Piperade, and that's going to complement our fish very nicely here. Now that our fish is nicely seared on the one side and it's almost seared on the bottom, I'm going to turn the heat off, let rest a minute. So I'm going to let that even out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put that in a plate so it doesn't overcook.
Can I ask why you add the butter after you stuff it to the sauce?
Sure. Well, what we're trying to do is create an emulsion in the sauce. So we want the butter to melt, but we don't want it to separate.
Okay.
So what we're doing is, now we have that emulsion down there. I'm sorry, now we have the wine and the reduction in there. We can emulsify the butter in with that wine and mustard and all the other flavor components of the sauce.
It's getting creamier.
Exactly, that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to add in the last of the butter here. You're going to keep stirring that. And I'm going to heat up our green beans here. I have some blanched green beans. We're just going to reheat them in the water very quickly. And they're going to form the base for a plate. So I'm going to grab my plate here. Actually, I'm going to turn you to the heat 1 second.
Okay.
And then when I put that sauce back to you, you should be able to stir that and finish it.
Awesome. It's almost there.
Almost there. Yeah, it's coming together very nicely. Nice job.
Why, thank you.
All right. Let me grab my tongs. We're going to get some of these green beans.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah, since they were already blanched, they only take a minute to cook.
How hot was it?
It's boiling water, so at least 212 degrees. I'll create a little bundle of our green beans there. Going to put our resting fish on top there, and it can continue to rest right on those warm green beans. I want you to finish stirring here, please.
Got it.
Thank you. Already that doesn't look bad. I'm going to add in my Piperade. Come together nicely. I'm going to put that right on top of the fish. That heat off there. And then you're just about ready there. Yep.
Ooh, this is starting to all come together.
Very nice, Kat. We're going to finish this plate with your sauce here. All right. Just a touch more there. Give it another spin around.
Yeah, I see some chunks still.
Sorry as I move around. And then we're going to take that sauce and I'm going to strain it, pass it through a fine chinois. So we have a nice smooth velvety sauce. Go right back in here. Keep that nice and warm. And then we're just going to finish it over top of our dish here. So this will be our last component, right over top of the Piperade. Make sure that butter gets into everything. You notice I didn't put any butter or anything on the green beans because our sauce is almost entirely butter here.
Goes perfectly.
So we have a nice Coho salmon dish here with Piperade, green beans, and a Dijon beurre blanc.